All right, it's episode 1 of Are You Not Entertained? I'm Jared Pike,
Bo Yokely.
and we're going to discuss several different things in this episode, including what we thought about Joker 2. And, there's lots of varying reviews out there, mostly bad, but I think you might be surprised by at least one of our opinions. Then, and we're also going to discuss the series Menendez series,
Yeah, monsters.
monsters, and also Jeffrey Dahmer, and just that whole series.
Yeah.
And but first, we want to talk about like who we are.
Who are we?
Let's start with you.
Okay.
I talk all the time. I want to hear about
Yeah, but you're the professional. I'm Bo Yokely. Ask me a question.
you need to be asked a question.
Yeah.
So when did you start acting?
From birth. No, I don't know. Maybe 9 years ago. 9 years
Okay.
ago, started doing it full time, and been very fortunate since. Got a lot of roles, TV shows, films. Work behind the scenes now, producing, creating new content, writing. We're
Yeah.
writing something together. So yeah, it's interesting.
And I don't know, how long ago did we meet?
It wasn't long after that.
Right.
Jared actually gave me one of my first interviews after doing Napoli Ever After on Netflix.
Okay.
And then we hit it off after that, I guess.
Yeah. So I host a morning show, and
The best morning show.
it
Jared
is
Katie in the morning.
it is syndicated.
It's
No,
Not to flex, but
no, but I've been doing that for 17 years, and then we met and interviewed him about a movie on Netflix. We like to support local people. Then he's only done more and bigger
Yeah.
things, more opportunities. And so we were talking the other day. He drove to my house and he's like, "Can you meet me in person?" I thought, "Oh, the movie we've been talking about is going to get made." And he's like, "You want to do a podcast?" And I was like, "Oh, I guess."
So that movie's still not being made yet?
No, but with more we talked about, we got excited about it, and so he has the actor's point of
Yeah.
view. He's been on sets, behind the scenes, and I have like just being in the entertainment business with, being a morning show host and radio and all the things that we see.
You're creative, though. I mean, he's come up with ideas for films and TV shows, things we're working on currently right now.
Right, yeah.
Multiple different levels of production. So that is happening. And
But I like the fact that you have behind the scenes, and I kind of have a fan perspective, but also
Yeah.
we interview celebrities, we talk to celebrities, we talk about entertainment all the time. So I think as
we go see movies a lot together.
we do.
That's actually how this kind of started, was that we're like, let's go see this controversial movie that a lot of people are hating on, because that's what's happening. And
Right. And we're going to get into just one second, but I remember the first time I went to the movies with him, or maybe the second time, he goes, "Have you ever had a hamburger in a movie?" And I'm like, "I don't know what that means. Is that sexual? I'm not sure what's happening." And I go,
Yes.
"No." He said, "I'm going to change your life." And I'm like, "What's happening?" And I show up and he has like a little backpack on, and he goes right in and he pulls out like 2 bags. What was it?
Freddy's, yeah.
Freddy's hamburgers.
Steak burgers, fries, shakes.
And a milkshake. I have like, and it did. That did change my life.
It did.
Yeah.
We're not able to, because we go to a movie theater that has like the trays you pull out. It's really nice, lean back trays. And we sat there and ate our burgers, and it was incredible.
No, that was freaking awesome. I was like, this is way better than my Sour Patch Kids. But
I know he thought it was a rebel, like sneaking in with like Sour Patch and Milk Duds. He's like, "Hey, look, like, dude, I got you. Here's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Let's actually have a good meal." And
I got my soda can. I'm waiting for an explosion so I can open it.
I will actually. My wife will verify this. I wait for it to get quiet to pop my soda can. It's a little like an FU.
Yeah,
you like would. I will, in rebellion, show you I'm opening a can.
But if you haven't tried that, try it. I mean,
just sneak a bag in, and what you do is put like a emergency, like you're a paramedic patch on your bag, and people assume it's like, oh, he's a diabetic. He's like,
he's got EpiPens in there.
He has EpiPens right. And bandages, and you're like, no, I got burgers and candy.
I got the opposite of things that can make you healthy. And you can tell by the look of us, yes, we were separated at birth, twins. But anyway.
I'm convinced.
Yeah, so Joker 2.
Hold on. No, you. Let's talk about Jared Pike. Jared.
Okay.
Do tell. What makes you such a professional on the radio? Why are you so good?
Well, I flubbed at the beginning already, so you're like, whatever. No, I've been doing this for 17 years on air, and what I like about, because I know people that do, like in TV news and stuff, and they come into our studio and they're like, oh, everything is so written out for us. We have to go with the teleprompter. We can't really give our own opinions. So like tomorrow morning, I'll go in tomorrow morning at 4:30, and like whatever I want to talk about and co-host Katie wants to talk about, whatever we want to talk about, we can talk about. And then, so
you have a lot of
freedom, creativity, anything we think of, any bit idea, we can do it. So I love that. And so we've been doing that I've been doing it for 17 years.
Yeah.
But it's just, when you love something, it becomes easier. People say that, but it's so true. It's like, every morning I had to go in and try to make people laugh and laugh myself, and it makes a huge
Meet
difference.
interesting people. I mean, you were Teddy Swims.
Yeah, I met Teddy Swims recently.
Like,
And he was like one of the coolest celebrities I've ever met.
went home with Nick Offerman. We both did.
Yeah, we met him. Nick Offerman was great. I have interviewed presidential candidates and different things, which is funny because our show's not political at all. It's just, but being in a swing state, we've had Obama on election day in 2008. We invite everyone on.
Yep.
We've had Hillary and Biden and Trump relatives. We never had Trump himself. We've had like Donald Trump Jr. and all these different things, Herschel Walker. So you get to talk to a lot of interesting people. We interviewed Miley Cyrus, and so it's just being in entertainment. It's interesting to talk to people, and more so, I think, to actually meet them in person to see like how they really are.
But you're actually much more than just a radio host, because you had the idea that you came to me about a TV series, a film, and you're like, hey, there's this idea.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of people pitch me stuff all the time, producing things, and a lot of it's just, you don't want to. But as soon as you did, I thought, I think there may be something here. This actually is a really great idea. Let me get on it. And so, again, that's in the multiple different phases of production, which, it takes a while sometimes to get things up and running, because you have to find that caveat, that niche timing with studios or funding, all the things that go along with it. We'll cover that a lot in the podcast, but it's you're more than just a pretty face.
Well, but no, I mean, and I used to write. We used to write all these bits, so I'd write like these mini scripts like every morning when I wasn't the host, and so I always have ideas for, like, my mind works in skits.
Yeah.
And also like scenes. Like when I see something happen, I'm like, okay, if that was in a movie, this is how it should happen. So my mind's just always worked that way, even before I was in radio. So as we get this thing going, get one of these movies done, that'd be really cool. You've been in a movie. I mean,
it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going. Again, it takes time, but Jared will have a role in said thing. It may just be like the guy walking in the background wearing a G-string, holding a pina colada, but he's going to be in it.
As long as I'm in it for a couple seconds. And it's funny, all my kids were like, can I be in it? I'm like, I don't even know it's gonna be made. Like, I can't promise anything. But anyway.
You know the creator, you'll be okay.
Yeah, so it's exciting, and so I've learned from him like some behind the scenes, or how much, we can get into this later, but how much you get paid, maybe basically like a base rate for if you're a producer, or if you're a writer, or if you're a creator, and the budget is this much, you should expect to get paid this much unless you have a different deal. And all that stuff to me is fascinating.
It's fascinating to a lot of people. Yeah, and that's information a lot of people don't talk about. I mean, they hear about, oh, they signed this movie deal. They back end. What is that? What percentages? How do you know? All that stuff is incredibly exciting to me too, because that's the business aspect. That's where I come from, is the business world. So to be able to kind of figure that out is how I got into producing.
Right.
So I want to map out, what does a successful movie look like? What does a flop look like? And why does it flop? And kind of the schematics behind that.
And he is a seriously a big fan of movies. Because sometimes I've heard, listen to other celebrities, these A-list celebrities, and I hear an interview like, well, what shows are you watching? Like, I don't watch TV. What's the last movie you went to? I don't go to the movies. And you're like, really?
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
And I love the fact that you love it. Like, he's excited no matter what the movie is like. Even Planet of the Apes, which to me was horrible. We're not here to review that, but because he made some excuse, I gotta get home. Like, I think that when my kids are awake, I'm like, it's 11:30 at night.
What's an excuse? I remember. I may have to.
We did, because I think my son Eli came with us, and I was like, after you left, I was like, I was gonna do the same thing. Let's go.
Yeah.
It was anyway.
It was.
But you were like going there, like getting like, oh, this good thing. We're into it. And like you pick out things.
So I'll give any movie a choice. A chance. I'll give any show a chance. And people laugh all the time, but I say I try to watch a movie a day. If I can watch a movie a day, it was a successful day. Because to me, that's kind of like training.
Yeah.
Also, to me, it's in the business. You have to know what's coming out, who's attached, who is the cinematographer, who is the director, who are the producers of these things. Because you can start mapping out in your mind. It's much more intricate than just, there are movie stars and there's everyone else. It's like, no, there's a whole list of things that can, push your project forward. They can halt it. That can, make something flop that should be a hit. What we're going to be talking about, versus just like, oh, it's just a black and white. It's not so black and white.
No, and that's what I've learned. I mean, and in anyone's career, there's more to it. I consume radio like crazy. I always have more talk radio, like less music type stuff, but like more talk type.
Podcasts.
And then podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I started one a month ago with sports, totally different. And so he approached me about this, and so it's what I do. I love it.
Yeah, I'm a fanatic for it. Anything to do with film, television, I eat it all up.
I do want to ask you this: what is the biggest role you almost got?
Okay, we were talking about this the other day. So there was probably two. One of them I'll talk about is you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Okay. The
Love
role Austin Butler.
Yeah.
Okay, I auditioned for that,
Okay.
and we went pretty far in that role. But then, of course, Austin Butler did an incredible job. But like, I shouldn't have gotten it. But that was the role that I was like, oh my god, this is one of those things that like, if this goes off, you're in a Tarantino movie early on, and they're already gone through some of the details, like so he can horseback, hide again, availability, he's available for the day, and these are all like check marks. Like, okay, we're getting really close, and then it just goes crickets.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, they booked Austin Butler. Okay, so that makes sense. So that was a big one. That was like,
And when you're far in the process, like you don't meet Tarantino yet.
No,
It's a bunch of screen tests or.
yeah. So it'd be like primarily is audition. The first thing you get a request from your agent. Hey, the casting director, the producers want to see for this role. You fit the mold for what they're looking for.
And explain that. I mean, interrupt. And explain that a little bit because you've told me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like there's almost like a menu of human beings, right?
Oh my goodness.
Where it's like height and race and look.
So what'll happen is a casting director will put out a notice to all the agents, let's say in Los Angeles, and they'll say we're looking for 6'2", blonde hair, blue eye, available to on these dates.
I'm offended.
Some of them do say 5'6", roach 9, balding, and they do say that.
Yeah.
There are those.
No.
No, but and so they'll calibrate it to a specific look. They'll send them to all the agents and agencies, and then all the agents will submit. And so you're talking about each role. I mean, each role for a film, if it's on TV or in theater, they'll probably have 3,000 to 4,000 different, well, a lot bigger, 3,000 to 4,000 different submissions just for that role.
Wow.
And then the casting director has to go through and see, okay, I want to look at 25 of them. So right off we were getting lighting flickering. I don't know what's going on. Right off the bat, you're like really, limited on how many people they're going to look at. And then off of that, they'll see 25, and they'll keep narrowing it down until like eventually they're just, at a level that they got, 2 or 3. They'll call you for a screen test, director sessions. The director will read with you. Producers are there, and that's the most like nerve-wracking portion, honestly. It's like because you're in the room with these decision makers, and these decision makers,
you're close.
Oh, you're super close, and they'll throw out directions too that are like, hey, we want to see you do it this way, but they'll change things on you in the moment, so you got to be able to like in the moment adjust and on the fly move and change things. So it's really intimidating, to be honest with you.
No, I can imagine, like, if the lights are flickering, you just have to go with it.
You just have to go.
You have to go. The show must go on, right?
You have to keep going. That's it.
And so Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was the closest. I mean, that's not the closest. The biggest role.
That was a massive role that that's one of those career makers. As soon as it comes on, you want to pause this real quick?
Oh, we can't pause it.
We can pause it.
No, we can't.
And then we can pick right up again.
We can't.
Oh, okay.
No,
Edit this out.
We're
I
gonna.
was just gonna say this is like burning hot. I'm wondering if it's overheating for some reason.
Okay.
Because like I can't even touch this.
No, we can keep it. Let's keep going. I've done podcasts in my car without good lighting, so if it goes out a little bit.
So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna turn this on, you guys, so that if I turn this off.
Do this. There's another cord downstairs on the table in a box. It's a little white box. You go downstairs. It's on the table in the front room, and then bring that up here. I think because here's what happened. I couldn't find that cord originally, so now we put on a light, and I found a cord that worked. Apparently, this cord is too much wattage, and I think it's trying to blow our light as we're
right. Should we just turn that one off?
We can do that. Yeah.
And just do this other one for now. People like behind the scenes stuff. Trust me, it's still. You said, do we want to do? Yeah.
Does that
Trust
is
me,
this
better lighting than 99.
Oh, this is way better. You can see our green light now.
Yeah, and I look a little bit younger, I think. No, but I do find that fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like, 99.9% of people who ever live have no association with Hollywood. They've never been in anything. They won't be in anything, even behind the scenes. And so we see it, and we're a celebrity culture. So when somebody's in it, because you've been on shows on net or movies and shows on Netflix and Apple TV and all these different things, so it's like I'm excited to dive deep into some of those.
Yeah. That's like I said, that's one of those things that I was always so fascinated about people's stories too.
Right.
I mean, I would research other celebrity stories, and you realize that everyone has the same story, but it's different, and that makes everyone has the same hurdles they have to go through,
right?
But they're at different places, so you may not even know. Like, okay, Chris Pratt had this happen, or Tom Cruise didn't have any struggles. I don't think. I'm convinced he just went from the bottom to the very top.
Yeah, very young. Yeah.
Everyone has these weird little things that happen to them, weird things on set that like this is so bizarre, but people want to know about it. The first thing a lot of times people ask me, what's something funny or quirky happens on set? That's because it's really interesting to see, like, these are not no mistakes made. Clearly, I mean, the mistakes are always going to happen. What separates a lot of people is just like the ability to kind of keep the show going, keep rocking, keep rolling, and not worrying about the fallout.
Yeah, I mean, it's the perseverance. I've heard that from other actors that the perseverance is key.
Yeah.
Like not quitting. And then a lot of them are like, I was about to quit. And I was like, one more audition. They have a lot of that.
And COVID's changed a lot too. So years ago when we talked about how they would do auditions remotely. So they'd be casting something out of Los Angeles. But I'll be getting the breakdown. I'm in North Carolina. The reason that works is there's a platform online that allows casting directors to send their requests just digitally. We'll send a tape directly to them, whereas used to you have to go in the room. In the room auditions was the caricature thing about LA. It's all the people lined out, the casting director room around the corner. Everyone looks the same. That was in the room auditions. Since COVID, they almost did away with that entirely. Everything's digital now.
You like that better?
I like it so much better because I can audition for things in Sydney, Australia, and Los Angeles, and New York in the same day.
And you're not sitting there like feeling intimidated by, oh, hey, that guy's better than me. I mean, I got confidence, but it's
just going to change your persona in the room anyway. Right. I've had it happen where I'll be in a waiting room. I'll hear the person in the audition room do it a certain way, the same way I was going to do it. And then
in your head.
And it gets in your head, and you're thinking like, I gotta change it up. He just did my take. He did my beats. I gotta change up. And then you're messing yourself. You're going in the room. You got everyone sitting there, and now you're trying to change your strategy up. It's a real headache. Some people like being in the room because they can build that relationship with casting directors. But now with everything digitally, because the casting directors just take those tapes in the room and they send them to the producers anyway.
Yeah.
You don't even need to be in the room even then. But then they kind of learned that through COVID, and now there is no more rooms. It's all digital now. And it's kind of like the forefront. Years ago it happened.
And before we get into the Joker 2, which we are going to get into, how much do you make per year?
Last year I cleared $7.70.
No, but you do. I mean, but you would say like if you get a decent role, it's a lot more money than somebody that's having to work every single day. Depends on what it is.
Correct.
If it's on a big platform.
Yes, I'll tell you. This is one of those things a lot of people don't know. But I'll tell you. So if you're a union member, there's a union minimum that you get paid a day. Now your agents will negotiate that up. Yeah. So if you're union, the union minimum for a day is roughly $1,200 a day. Okay. Now your agents will bolster that up sometimes to $3,000-$4,000 a day. May not be a big deal. Yeah. But you'd be on set for 45 days, or you're on set for 3 months. You do the math. Now you have your agents. They're going to take 10% off the top. Always. Agents take 10%. Managers take another 10%. If you have a lawyer, 5%. So now you're down 25% if you have all your team. And believe me, you want a team involved in these decision makers because they're going to bolster that rate up anyway. So you can pay that more and you don't even feel it. You don't even know. So, you really don't have to do a ton if the roles they shoot a good period of time and it's the SAG rate and you have good agents that will bolster that up a lot.
So but you're talking about if you're on camera, the minimum is $1,200.
Yes.
On camera. Like a speaking role.
Correct. If you're speaking, it is $1,200. If you're a union member, meaning if you're SAG after a union member, it's $1,200 a day. Now there are background's pretty staggering. Background, I think last time I saw was like $84 a day.
And this is kind of
for 8 hours minimum. And so they'll bolster it up after 8 hours. You'll get maybe time and a half, but it's not.
You're just kind of in the background, but a scene.
Correct. You'll be walking. You're like 30 yards away walking. You still get paid for it. And some people make their careers. I have friends that make their careers off just doing background
stuff
because they'll be posting, "Hey, I'm in this and this and this coming out this weekend." Like, how are they in 5 movies in a week? It's like, they don't have a word in any of them. They're way in the back, but they're making their living and they're on set. And there's something magical about being on set. It's just it's truly like nothing else I've seen.
All right, so we are talking about Joker 2. I mean, whatever the stupid name was. The name was stupid. Because for American audiences, it's like, what?
What that means is, it means the folly of two people. So, like, their shared delusion. And that's the whole...
Why do they call it Joker 2 Delusion? Or Delusional?
Well, that'd be a little Americana. We're trying to church it up a bit with funny.
Well, your two biggest markets are America and China, right? So
for sure.
So, okay.
For sure.
All right.
I don't think that's what failed.
All right, so I'm going to share my point of view on this, and it's a little bit different than probably any review you'll hear. I watched it. I thought I watched most of it, and I was watching it, and I fell asleep, and I thought I watched most of it, and I was like, this movie sucks, and I was like, I hate this movie, and then he said,
texts me, says, one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
And I don't do stuff based on what reviews say. Most movies I love, the reviewers hate.
That's
swear.
true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're kind of.
I don't care. It's like if I just want to be entertained.
Truly,
You know,
that's the job of the movie is to entertain.
entertained, and
That's
I
it.
don't care. You know, plot holes, all that stuff. You can get technical with that. I just want to feel entertained when I'm watching it. I didn't. I mean, I fell asleep. But okay. So he's like, "Come watch the movie." I thought, "Well, I've already seen it. Like, why would I go see it again?" And then I thought, "No, we're gonna do this podcast.
Come watch with me. Come on.
Let's watch it in the theater."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I did it.
You should watch all these movies in the theater. To be honest with you,
You're right.
Even you know, Chris Nolan, the GOAT, says this. Like, these
It is-
movies are meant to be seen in a theater. They're not meant to be streamed in your bed while you're thumbing Instagram. You have to see these movies
Right.
in the real, like seeing a tiger in the wild is totally different than seeing a tiger in the zoo, right? So you have to kind of see it in its natural environment. These movies play better in a theater with other people surrounding the energy. That is something there.
And so I go to the movie, and then I was telling him, like, I've seen this part, and then I was like, I haven't seen this, and the movie's 2 hours long, and we're 30 minutes in, so I only saw the first 30 minutes, and I made a judgment on it, which isn't fair.
Well, you know, it happens.
Now, what made it fun was, first of all, the movie's only been out for a couple of weeks. It went on a Thursday. That's not, and it's 9:30. We were like the only two people in there. That's not good.
No,
That's not good. That's not great. But I did actually like the movie. I just felt like I talk about this a lot with relationships. You have unforced errors, kind of like in tennis.
Sure.
And I felt like the unforced error was Lady Gaga. There's no reason to have her in the movie,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Mhm.
There's no reason with all these great actresses out here, especially with being across from Joaquin Phoenix, who to me, and I think we agree, one of, if not the greatest actor of our generation.
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
the
he's
things he can do on the
nuts.
screen, you're just like,
staggering.
how's he? You get lost in his performances. I think an unforced error, and then turning it into like a half of it is a musical. It's just not necessary. Now, I do in a delusional state when he has like flashbacks and he thinks he's on some Broadway play and he's on some
Yeah,
they're singing and then he snaps back to reality. No problem with that at all. My problem, even though I like the movie, my problem was when it was they're like trying to escape from prison and
Yeah.
it's not there's not some sort of
spoiler alerts.
yeah, not a flashback. It's not anything. And they just go breaking the song and dance while things are on fire around them. To me, it's kind of like if
I get.
they made Jaws, right?
Mhm.
They made Jaws 2, which no one really asked for, but they made Jaws 2, and it's like a musical. Makes no sense.
Right.
That makes no sense. So it's an unforced error. You have this Joker movie that took the world by surprise.
Yeah. Made over $1 billion
Made-
on $100 million budget.
And
So
radar.
do the math on that.
It was, I think, at the time the highest grossing.
It was. Then Deadpool overthrew.
Right.
Right. But yeah, it was.
And people were like, oh, it's people I think we went to the movies thinking, oh, this is another action hero movie, but
Yeah.
it wasn't.
No.
And it was so dark, and the acting was so good, and it just was.
It really showed mental illness that I don't
Yes.
think a lot of people have seen.
Right.
You know, the fact of, you know, it's something a lot of people hear about, struggle with, but then like to kind of put it in that perspective of an individual and you can see it, it's like, this is very visceral. This is not just like a theory. Like you can see this, how desperate this person is.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is I could see why people didn't like it because even though I enjoyed it and the Joaquin Phoenix, just him alone, take everyone else out. Oh, they had other good actors.
Yeah.
Just watching his scenes, I could watch those over and over again. And you can get to this in a second, like how he can get to those places and just. I don't know how many different faces he can make, but it's like you can feel everything he's feeling. It's just so incredible.
I think that's why. I think because he's really feeling it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think some people, they phone it in. And in acting, we call it indicating. So what that means is I'm not really feeling sad,
Right.
but I'm going to indicate all the things that show that I'm sad. I'm going to tear up. I'm going to have my lip quiver. I'm going to indicate, but you don't really feel it.
Right.
Therefore, it's shallow and it's not real. But
Right.
with Joaquin, from what I understand, he really,
Yeah.
really feels this. I mean, in my opinion, The Gladiator, the greatest movie ever, Joaquin Phoenix is in it. And he called Ridley Scott 2 weeks before production started, freaking out, panicking, saying, I can't do it, and really talked him back into it. But the problem was he was having was he knew that he had to go to this really dark place to play this really dark person, and he didn't want to go in that dark alley.
Mhm.
And so I think in his own mind, he really feels it, and that's the reason why it translates so well compared to a lot of other actors.
And when the movie starts, I think you even said, well, in the movies, because we talked because no one else was in there, you thought maybe his body was CGI, and then we realized it wasn't.
Yeah,
It's like
wow.
a 500 calorie a day diet. It's not good. But I mean,
It's wild.
so anyway,
Total immersion. Like there's no
Total.
pretending here. He really is this guy.
think about some of the greatest movies, like a Sling Blade. Okay, I know that
Yeah.
there couldn't be a sequel necessarily, but then they have Sling Blade 2 and it's this interesting character and it's half it's a musical. You can see why audiences are like, what are you doing?
For sure. No, I for sure see
So
why
that was
people are-
unforced. So you could have had the same story, have a Margot Robbie or just a talented actress. And I don't think Lady Gaga is a bad actress. I know people give her crap. I thought she did fine.
Yeah.
I thought she did fine. I thought she pulls off crazy.
I don't know anyone who can sing live better than Lady Gaga because they were singing live in the film.
Oh, were they really?
They were really
You
singing.
could tell
live.
Joaquin was.
Yeah, he wasn't. And that's what we say. He was nervous about singing beside Lady Gaga because that's obviously one of the greatest talents of the generation, singing wise. But that's part of the reason why Todd Phillips, the director, hired her is because they knew you're going to have to sing in the moment and you're going to have to be believable in that talent wise for
No,
singing.
she's super talented. I liked her in American Horror Story, and
Yeah.
what else did I see her in? There's a couple things I saw at her. Oh well, Star is Born.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like people are like, oh, people can't get out of their mind. Oh, she's Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
But
And plus, too, you got to think marketing wise. How many people are going to go see the movie because Lady Gaga came and saw her? A lot of people that are weird about like the casting choices. Some people, it's a market decision.
yeah,
Just like anything else, like I'm going to put this name because I know they have this many followers on social media, they have this many interactions, they have this much that they gross on everything else and okay, that's a good mathematical move. It's just a lot of it comes down to math. It's still just a business at the end of the day.
but if you think about it, they made over $1 billion the first time.
Yeah.
They already had the fans,
They
the
did.
audience. I don't think to me unforced.
I get
To
it.
me unforced.
I get it. It was a swing. It was
And
it
I
was a
don't
swing
fault-
of a
I don't-
swing.
and I don't fault people for taking swings. Maybe on Joker 3 you take a swing, which I don't know if there's going to be one, but no spoiler alerts.
We
There
already
could be. No, I'm saying I don't know if there'll be.
yeah, well,
This bombed, but I mean, it bombed.
it bombed. Yeah,
It's not even doing half of what
bombed.
they expected.
No, so I think the last thing I heard is they had like I think a $200 million budget. They would have to make after marketing everything like close to over 500 million just to recoup.
Yeah.
They won't ever get there.
Yeah.
This is gonna lose a lot of money.
So it's unfortunate because Joaquin Phoenix is so genius.
So genius.
I hate that it's universally panned. I still like it.
Yeah.
After I actually watched it, I still like it, but I can see where people don't like it because it's like you took something that was working. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
And they broke it. They broke the franchise for no reason. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay,
Because
so
I know you were enjoying it the entire time, and I can see why. I could totally see why.
yeah, so I think that the whole thing that people have a misconception about maybe going to the movie was like this is going to be a continuation of the first one.
That's what a sequel is.
Well, yes and no. Okay, let's think about what the first one was. The first one was Arthur Fleck
Right.
becoming the Joker.
Right.
What does that mean? The translates to the audience wants to see the Joker. The second one was the Joker, Arthur Fleck trying to get rid of the Joker. From the very beginning, he's trying to distance himself.
But the
from
audience
the
doesn't
Joker.
know that going in.
They don't know from the beginning, but what I'm saying is, in a weird way, what Todd Phillips did was he kind of turned the joke back on the audience, how we ourselves want to see the Joker, but then as soon as he actually become a human and become back to Arthur Fleck, oh, we run away from the movie. We say, it's a terrible movie. How could you do this? How could you make a musical? But the reality of it is, that's the genius of that movie. It's not so linear that like, and we get to see the Joker become more maniacal. It's like, no. What happens is the audience grew to love the Joker in the first one because he's a sociopath. But then whenever he's trying to fight that and turn back into Arthur Fleck, everyone in the whole town, including Harley Quinn,
Right.
distance. Why? Because she loves the Joker,
That's Joker, not
just
not
like
Fleck.
the audience.
Yeah.
So that's the whole joke of the whole thing. A lot of times, people are broken it down to like it's actually kind of genius in the same way The Shining was hated for like the longest time. It was a joke of a film until it grew this generational understanding of it's a lot deeper than just a crazy guy in the cabins. The same is going to happen in this movie. Mark my words. It's going to, as time goes on, people are going to start realizing, oh, the whole joke is we are just like Harley Quinn and the people in the movie having a riot because they want the Joker. But the reality of it is that shows how sick the society is because now we're actually rooting for this horrible person. And when he's trying to become better, he's trying to distance himself from that. Everyone says, Harley Quinn, I don't even want to be with the Joker, but also the society's like, oh, we don't want the movie.
Right. No, I'm not saying it's not clever or it's not some ingenious thing. You're also dealing with people that are going to the movie to be entertained,
Truly.
and they don't know that going in. Now, by the end of it, you're like, oh, you can see all this stuff kind of unfolding, and it actually makes the movie better than what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But
I will say the music
it's almost too much work for the audience to do on a movie of that scale. if you do like an independent movie that you want to be a thinker or whatever, or like even like Interstellar, which is a bigger thing,
Well,
it's okay.
To quote Chris Nolan, he says the audience is genius. He says the audience is a genius viewer. Don't explain things.
Right.
Show them something and then let them decide what is.
But is that a genius saying that people who aren't geniuses?
He's
He is a genius. I don't think most people are geniuses that go to the movies.
I don't know.
I think audiences can snuff out something that we don't like this.
Yeah.
And they're obviously the
You
critics.
have to work
They're
for it a
the
little
ultimate.
more. Yeah. You had to work for this a little more, just like you would Inception.
Yeah.
Wait a second. What? You have to work for it. But I think that is kind of a reward in and of itself. It's not so
Spoon fed.
Yeah, and plus too, let's face the facts. People love to hate on something. There's this negative inertia that happens. Case in point, Jared, there's this negative inertia that maybe you heard all these things happen. It's like, oh, that movie's trash. It's like, hold on, is it really trash, or is it that there's so much power and inertia going forward for this thing to suck that everyone's jumping on the bandwagon? I hear people who are in the movie, Tim Dillon, hating on the movie. It's like this popularity contest in high school. It's like if someone isn't like the high school, before long half the school doesn't like them. Why? Because they're this weird inertia.
Right. If you don't,
I don't be associated with that, but reality is like if you break down like what the film was itself, I agree the music, there was a lot of it I could have done
too much of it.
There's too much of it. I could have done without 2 or 3 of the songs
For sure.
Maybe the Riot song and the tap dancing seemed a little out of kind of left field. I don't know. I don't really quite understand that. But the whole music is so important in that movie, including in the first film, that he can't communicate. So a lot of times he'll sing, and a lot of times there's this constant song going.
Right.
Same in this one. It's like words in the songs are a lot more powerful than actually here's the plain dialogue. I say this, you say this. That's boring. So the song was kind of communicating. I thought it was really well done.
Well, I guess for the audience, because what we've grown up in with the movies, who the Joker already is.
Sure.
So then you're finding out how he becomes a Joker, and yes, the way
he's not the Joker.
Okay.
He's an idea of anarchy. That's it. He is a catalyst to cause other people to justify total anarchy.
And then continue as a Joker in maybe a different form.
Because here's the thing. There are a lot of different forms.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson's a Joker.
Yeah.
We have the great Heath Ledger's a Joker. The cartoon Joker. All these are different Jokers. No, they all stem from someone. And that someone was Arthur Fleck.
Yeah.
So he served his purpose. And I think that's why there's not going to be another one.
Yeah.
Not going to break down.
Unless they continue with a younger Heath Ledger type Joker.
Yeah. Do we need to say it?
Spoiler alert, if you want to fast forward for like 30 seconds, you explain it.
Okay, so what
fast forward for 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this major spoiler at the end.
Major spoiler.
That seriously had me flipped upside down.
Yeah, it was really, really crazy.
It's like M. Night Shyamalan type.
I heard there was some crazy spoiler. And what it was at the very end, when the Joker's, literally the last 2 minutes of the film, and Arthur Fleck, Joaquin Phoenix, is walking out.
In prison. He's still he escapes prison and comes back to prison.
He's in Arkham, and then someone comes behind him and wants to tell him a joke. And of course, Arthur turns and smiles and everything. And then this guy goes on this, tirade about what do you call as all these, schizophrenic terminology. And then he ends it with the same line that Joaquin Phoenix said right before he killed Murray in the first one. You get what you deserve. And then he shivs him, stabs him 30 times. And then Arthur turns and he sees he's bloodied and he's dying. And then so he's passing out, goes on the ground, he's bleeding out. In the background, you see the person that stabbed him takes the knife and starts cutting the Heath Ledger cuts in his mouth. And the big rumor is that's actually Heath Ledger in Arkham Asylum killing Arthur Fleck, because the timeline works out really well. So that's Heath Ledger taking the mantle of the real Joker that we all know, which is probably the greatest portrayal acting-wise in history. And that's actually
in a movie that got a lot of crap, that's probably one of the best endings.
It's incredible.
Because the whole ride home, I'm like,
and you have to look for it too. Like I flagged you. I was like, look in the top left corner, and you saw him. It's blurry even.
Yeah.
Like, you see what he does, and he starts, molding and starts cutting up his face to make the Joker smile. So I thought it was beautiful.
But if you want to see great acting, you won't see any better acting than Joaquin Phoenix in this movie.
I agree. You won't take your eyes off him. It's truly remarkable.
All right, let's talk about on Netflix new. I guess it's kind of like a series of shows, but under the title of Monsters.
Yeah.
Started with Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
Menendez Brothers, which is a huge hit on Netflix. I just finished it. And then I believe they're doing Ed Gein next.
Ed Gein.
Gein. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who
I heard Charlie Hunnam's playing.
That's what I heard. Which is
he's incredible.
That's kind of an odd.
No, have you seen Ed Gein in real life?
Does he look like that?
Yeah.
I guess I saw pictures when he's older.
No, he is. It's
But Ed Gein, he inspired. He
Texas Chainsaw,
Silence of the Lambs a little
Hannibal
bit.
Lecter. Yep.
Yeah, any of the.
A lot of the great serial killer movies stem from this real guy Ed Gein.
Yes, the original Dahmer.
Right, and so Ryan Murphy is the producer and creator of these stories, and he's prolific. I've worked with some actresses and actors who've worked with Ryan Murphy and said he's a machine. He's incredible. Very very dark.
Yeah.
Mind, but I mean the way he portrays these things are truly incredible, and I think that the monsters, the Lyle Menendez, that was better than Dahmer. Dahmer was a little even hard to stomach. That was
the only thing I like about Menendez, it wasn't a musical.
Well, that's true.
If only they were singing
a song
when they killed their parents, that would have been much better.
What about episode 5?
What's it? I don't know.
Okay, so I've heard this is the longest take in film and television history.
All right.
Episode 5.
All right.
He's like, episode 5 is if you've seen the show, is the episode where they start really wide, really far back, and they're just focusing on Eric Menendez.
Oh, and the attorney from the back.
Correct, and the attorney from the back, and it's just a push. It's the slow push, as they call it, and it's getting closer and closer. It's microscopic. You don't even notice it. But for 36 minutes, I believe, it's one take. One take, no cuts, and it's back and forth, and then the emotional range of the guy playing Eric is unmatched. It'll win him. I think it'll win him an Emmy.
Those two, and I'm not familiar with them as actors. I know
no one is. They're incredible.
This is I'm talking about life changing.
Yes,
but tremendous actors. I mean, if I had to write, I think Eric's a little bit better. The guy character who plays Eric, but then also his character had to have more range.
Well, yes, but then if you look at Lyle's
great though.
Lyle's character and his rage
is great.
Was incredible.
He plays a psychopath perfectly.
Incredible. No, those guys are going to have very illustrious careers. And the funny thing is, man,
was that his wiener in that one scene? I have women ask me that.
No,
it wasn't.
No, I've heard, and this is again more inside baseball.
It's kind of large.
It is
flaccid.
No, it is. I've heard, and
for my
being on
my liking.
For his liking.
Yeah, no, but I was just like, oh,
okay. So being on set, what we have is something called an intimacy coordinator. What this is someone, whenever there's a romance scene, whenever there's any kind of physical touching from actors at all, they'll have a romance or an intimacy coordinator there to make sure everything's above board. This is something new SAG started just to make sure there's no hanky-panky weirdness. I've worked with multiple, and every one of them has told me that if on camera you see male genitalia or female genitalia not shaven, there's a difference. If female genitalia not shaven, it is a prosthetic.
Okay.
That legally they run into a lot of issues if it is the real deal versus if they have a prosthetic on, it's not technically them, therefore no legalese. So I think a lot of
does that like avoid like an NC-17 type thing? Or?
It's that, and also I think avoids a lot with like day rate, and there's a lot of pay that goes into it, and plus too. It kind of keeps it a little classier, as funny as that is. It keeps it a little classier because you don't really want to see these stars genitalia. It feels a little much. So let's put a prosthetic on it. Let's just
like they did at Boogie Nights.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Boogie Nights, and then a lot of things in the show The Deuce.
But not in Hangover. That was his.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, Chow. Yeah,
no one would agree to have it that small.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And also in Joker, there's a guy standing off to the side. It was.
And to go through every one, I don't know.
No, but
the
majority that was like a long scene of that. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made it clear that so you could. I mean.
But the majority of those are prosthetics.
Okay.
So like that's what I've always heard, and I've been asked many times. This role considers nudity, but there will be a prosthetic. It's like, oh, okay. Great, that's no problem. I want to make sure that there's a prosthetic in there, to make it, smaller,
right?
Smaller,
right? Can you get it to shrink?
I don't want to be threatening everybody walking into the room.
His wife's in the background and she's laughing really hard. No, but no, I do think I don't know because some prisoner of the moment type of mentality. I do think Menendez is great. Dahmer was money.
Yeah,
I mean,
he won an Emmy for it.
We're a year and a half.
Evan Peterson.
Removed or so, maybe a year or two of removed from it, and so we don't. I mean, I think it did better than this one did.
Well, probably, it was the first one.
And Dahmer is a bigger story. I mean, as far as in the culture, people make jokes like, "Oh, Jeffrey Dahmer." Is that guy
Well, here's the deal: the Menendez case is reopened
right
because of this show.
Right.
So it's like this is having real life consequences. The reason the Hollywood Reporter, this is having real life consequences.
Yeah, Kim
for
Kardashian
these guys
asking for
because
their
they're really, potentially going to be getting out. They're reviewing the case in California, and they have a really good chance of because. Look, if you watch the show, you realize that the second hearing they had, they didn't allow any kind of reports or family, indicating or talking about how they were molested. There's all these things that happened to them to cause this, self-defense reaction of
Mhm.
killing their parents. They couldn't use any of that as evidence. So now they were left with a verdict. They said you could either give not guilty, which they clearly were, they said they were, or guilty. There's no like manslaughter. It's like you get life in prison or you're let free, and they can't be let free. So
Right.
now they're reviewing the case, saying like we're going to go back and we're actually going to see. They have to admit this evidence because this makes everything when you realize at the level that they were sexually abused by their father and the ignorance or the ignorance of her mother,
Right.
of their mother. I mean, you have to review this.
Well, and then there's some people saying that maybe they weren't molested. There's some of that argument they made the whole thing up because they had that attorney that had used that argument before.
Sure.
But they did have witnesses that said, not to ruin it, but had witnesses. I mean, it's a real story, obviously, where Lyle or Eric Menendez told me when he was 10 that his dad was doing this to him. So if they were molested, then I don't think. I mean, you can't just kill people, but it would be understandable. It'd be like justifiable homicide.
Yeah, well, there's molesting, and then there's molesting, which is like on go graphic. The maximum you can do is what the father was reported doing to
For
them
years and years, up
for
until their teenage years.
for over a decade. And so at that level, you can't expect people to have clear thought on how to react to things. Now, could they have done it a little less graphic than 12 gauge shotguns? Yeah, sure, but I think again that just shows kind of the level of like they were out of it. They were just
The
so
hatred.
angry, wanted to end. Yeah, and they're
No, I mean, they were molested to the level they were. The parents did get what they deserved.
Yeah.
They
well,
did.
and then Netflix is genius, by the way. They released the documentary after the series the day that California reopened their case. I think it was October 3rd, 2024.
Yeah.
So they released this documentary, and the documentary goes into a lot of the more detail that was kept out of the show about the level of the molestation and the level of how many witnesses there were and how. Have you seen the documentary?
I haven't, not yet. And
he's unprepared. I'm prepared. You have
this was not on the docket.
No, but it really adds context to like have more justification, understanding for these guys. Again, I'm never the type to be like, oh, they're totally innocent. But after seeing and hearing what
and in the 80s and early 90s, it I guess turned into the mid 90s because of O.J. Simpson overlap type thing.
Yeah.
Which they think played a role in it.
Huge part.
They think it played a role in it because the state was embarrassed by O.J. Simpson being acquitted in 95 or 96. So they were in the movie or in the series, they make clear like, hey, they're going to nail you. They're not going to be embarrassed again. And maybe that's a part of it. I mean, that could everything plays a role.
It has to be a part of it.
But yeah, the whole trial and just the way I didn't know it was a mistrial the first time. I didn't remember that. And then, but I did hear the Menendez brothers were upset by some of the portrayal of them in the show, as far as like, no, we didn't hook up with each other. Also, but I don't know, we'll see.
And I think also too that they were upset that they did not address the second trial as much.
It was quick.
Yeah, and that they did not look at evidence of their molestation. And that's what I think that they were really upset about. Like the show portrayed, the second trial, they just found them guilty. It's like, no, the reason they found them guilty was because they were not given any option to have a manslaughter charge.
Right.
Because the judge said, black or white, yes or no. They were not playing this manslaughter thing. We're either going to put you away for life or we're going to let you free. And I think they were like, we needed to harp on that a little more. But again, Ryan Murphy is top showrunner, in my opinion. Like he is one of the greatest. He's scary, scary talented. Love to work with him one day, but he is literally, he does his homework and his research. I think he nailed it.
No, yeah, it's if you haven't seen it, you got to watch it. Even if you're not familiar with it, they do such a great job at you definitely, as someone who kind of knew a little bit about it going into it, I learned.
I knew nothing
so much about it.
I heard jokes about it. I had no idea about any of the stuff that happened.
No, it's really good, and it's the monster series again. Dahmer, which to me was fantastic.
Yeah, hard to watch.
Hard to watch. Yeah,
I mean it's one of the most graphic serial killers in history, and you're watching the body.
And the thing, that to go back, early on, he was driving. Remember, and the police, I don't remember this, but police pulled him over, and the first person he killed, the jogger, he had chopped up, and he was like a teenager. He had chopped up, had him in trash bags, and he was driving drunk. And the cop pulled him over, and he's like, "What you got back there?" And he's like, "Oh, trimmings." He's, "You've been drinking?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm slid down here." He's like, "All right, just go home." To think he would have stopped him there.
Stop him there.
There's no Dahmer. But
Yeah.
they don't have a good series and a possible musical.
I think that's why they did this.
Yeah.
Is that they like, we need a TV series 30 years from now, so
Yeah.
let's let this guy slide.
Yeah.
And just let it go.
Very forward thinking on their part.
Very advanced. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's good for our first podcast.
I think it's great.
I felt like we got to know him a lot better. And
Him.
No.
A lot better.
No, not yet. Not yet.
That's episode
You will.
2.
But yeah, so if you want to be a sponsor of our podcast, there's a lot of different ways. We're all over social media on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Are You Not Entertained? You can find us there. You can email us, areyounotentertained@gmail.com. And, you know, sponsorships are easy. We can put you in each episode, and we have different ways to go about that. And then also do follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We'll be on YouTube tomorrow.
Yeah.
And as well, all the different places. And we're excited about it. And I don't know.
We're gonna have fun. We have a lot, like I said, we have a lot to say and more time to say it in.
Yes,
There's
we do.
too many things coming out. There's too much great stuff coming out with Gladiator 2 coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, the Gladiator is, like I said, my favorite movie of all time. To see the second one come out with Denzel, I could not be more excited about that.
Yeah. When I saw Denzel, I was like, what a great choice.
Yeah.
And then also, just things that happen in entertainment. Like there's some big news. I
Yeah.
mean, like obviously the Diddy trial, that's scheduled for May of next year.
Yeah.
But all the different stuff coming out for that will be, more fallout.
I'll be
from that.
testifying in that.
I'll
be testifying.
Yeah, the guy.
Unfortunately, he got locked up before I got my payoff, so I just got rid of for nothing.
Yeah, story of your life, right?
Happens all the time. So Jerry got on the podcast.
That's right. He's not paying me. He's paying me anyway. He has a lot of bottles of baby oil.
That's what we call it.
Off the.
That's what we call it. We have a lot to review, a lot to do, and look, as our projects are moving forward, and with multiple levels of production.